like to share with you one of the most important things I've ever learned in terms of dealing with life and attempting to find more joy. And it's illustrated through a comparison to driving on a road. Have you ever ridden on a highway where outside the white line, built into the asphalt, were these ridges? Some people call them rumble strips. So if you start going off the road, it goes thump, 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 thump. Those things are irritating, aren't they? Why did somebody build something irritating along the road? It's to wake you up, isn't it? It had to be irritating to do its job. And I've tried to portray this with a picture that I simply call the road. And let me illustrate it for you. In the center is the road, and we're going to call that the present. The road is where we live and where we want to be. It's the precious present, but it's very tricky to stay on. At least it has been for me in my life. It has to do with having our mind and our body and our spirit all together. Now, our body is always right here. Our mind is the tricky element. It can begin moving toward the future, something that has not happened yet. And when we do, we start hitting those rumble strips. These are all different variations and levels of intensity of fear and anxiety. The first little rumble strips are tension. Thump, 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 thump. Starting to feel tension. Then it gets a little bit bigger. Imagine outside of a first set of rumble strips, another set which are a little bit further apart and a little bit bigger, a little bit more jarring, just in case you hadn't woken up with the first ones. So you get out to worry, thump, 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 thump. Then there's anxiety, and then there's fear. And over along the right-hand side is a panic attack. Many people seek therapy for the first time following having a panic attack. They're very scary. And I like to think of them as having a purpose of keeping you from going off the deep end over into this illustration of a canyon. They really stop you and cause you to rethink how you're approaching life. If you spend way too much time in the uncertain future, you will be over there feeling those rumble strips, which actually are a helpful signal that you've strayed away from the present. Now, I have spent much of my life with two sets of wheels on the worry rumble strips. Here's how I have spent much of my life. I just didn't know any better. Now, I must say that sometimes playing with a dog or going fishing brought me over to the road of the present where I was just fully there. And it felt good, but kind of uncomfortable at the same time because it was unfamiliar. And so I'd say, well, it felt good for a while, but back to reality. I didn't know that my reality was off base and that the painful feelings of the worry and anxiety and so forth were actually trying to steer me back, just like those rumble strips, to the present. Now, I tend to avoid anger as much as possible, but other people tend to drift toward the past. We'll call it the rocky past. And the rumble strips act the same way, but with a little bit different feeling. Irritation, anger, bitterness, hatred. Over here, you either feel like you're going to hit something or you want to hit something. And those jarring feelings, again, can become a habit for you to feel that that intensity associated with the rumble strips actually means that you're seeing things more real. But I would like to suggest to you that they are a signal letting you know that you're off the road. And the more jarring that signal, the further off you are, attempting to have you come back. Just one other comparison on this, which I think is very helpful. Maybe you remember the old days when the radios had dials, and if you weren't on the station, you'd hear the static. Why do you think they put static on the radio? Trick question, isn't it? But the reason there is static, or the helpfulness of the static, is to let you know that you're off the station. The station is the present. And if I let my mind get off of it, it's letting me know that I'm distorting the music. The music of life in its fullest form comes right here in the immediate present. And there's signals in our being trying to let us know when we're off of that, so that we can learn to be here in the present and enjoy life more fully.